Hi everyone, I'm here with my friend Davee Blows. We're just talking about all things tattooing. It's going to be a good conversation. We're going to go here, there and everywhere around the world a couple of times and back.
Thanks for having me, Riz. It's an honor, bro.
Yeah.
I know we've been talking about it just
Yeah.
before pandemic. I visited you January 2020.
Yes. Yep.
And yeah, I've been looking forward to be back. Finally, I can come to visit you, so hang out a couple of days.
Yeah,
it's
it's
great
cool.
honor to be
Mate,
back at the
likewise.
temple.
Likewise, like like saying before, like, when my partner met you and anyone that hasn't met Davey before in person, he has infectious enthusiasm that rubs off onto people. So you're going to see it in this interview, but it's good. So we were just talking about before, you've been working 6-7 days a week forever, right?
Yep.
I've had a strong work ethic as well. And I mentioned, like, what blows me away is younger tattooers want to work 4 days a week. And I think to myself, fuck, man, 2 years, 3 years,
Yeah.
I'm going to work twice as much as you, accomplish twice as much, more skin, more coverage, get better, refine my skills. Like,
Yeah.
I can't understand you don't have this obsession,
Yeah.
even though you're so young and so good.
Exactly.
Like, man.
Yeah, it bums me out when I hear people talking about, like, they want to have 3 days weeks and, like, they want to work one appointment a day.
Yeah.
Because they are tired, they're anxious, and they have problems. I'm like, what kind of problems? Just fucking draw, get back to your
Yeah.
drawing board. Like,
Yeah.
be appreciative of, like, this craft.
Yep.
This beautiful, like, environment we have. Like, it's the best, like, thing that ever happened to us. And, like, guys like us are probably full of appreciation. So for me, I can't imagine, like, what I would do if I'm not in the tattoo studio at the moment. There
Man.
was years where literally I would be, like, just bummed to not be in the studios,
Well, I imagine, apart from, say, the pandemic, in the last 10 years, what's the longest you've not been in a tattoo studio for?
Honestly, probably a week.
There you go. Yeah.
And that's like just because I was really ill or something, I had like small surgery or like there was never a chance I would not be for a week in the studio just by my own choice, I would go on holidays. I would go Bahamas. I would go like cool places, but 4 days. That's it. That's my limit. Like 3-4 days. That's it. Enjoy your time. I do though travel. Like my favorite form of traveling, if I really need a break from tattoos, 24 hours. Getaway, go to Dubai. I love going to Dubai, Kuala Lumpur, those places where it's easy to fly in, easy to fly out. And you still have tons of cool shit to do, even 2 in the morning, Those places, I love it. These city breaks, Istanbul, great. Another great city for that. I love it. Berlin in Europe, amazing. 24 hours, that's all you need. You're coming back so pumped, so full of energy that you're ready for all those vampires to, suck it out again for the next 6 months. You're ready for it. So those city breaks are great for me. That's how I cultivate and I can work, like 340 days a year. Because I take these days whenever I need, like once a month, twice a month, whatever, And I'll just like buy ticket, like get out, 6, 7, 8 hour flight. I don't care. Like I just want a 24 hours somewhere, get back to place, and like I'm good, That's my form of recharging. Yeah.
Nice.
Still traveling, like still keeping myself occupied,
Man, that's the one, and we mentioned before, it's probably addicted to it. It's a healthy addiction, and you mentioned as well, like, people go, oh, you're tattooing all the time, you're here, there, like you're always with people, but then you mentioned as well, well, not really. There's a lot of time in the day where I'm on my own. 16 hours, 8 hours sleeping or whatever, then you're before the studio, after the studio.
Exactly, Yeah, I mean, we can start this whole subject. I think it's interesting one, like how to live out of a suitcase and not do that for 3-4 months a year, just how to do it full time.
It's like really you have to be prepared to, for the first year or two, face your own demons, because most of the time you're actually on your own, facing who you are, learning a lot about yourself. Going places you never expected to be. It's no more friend zone, no more like, hanging in the bars.
Hey, Mom, I need $50.
No, you're not constantly on the phone with friends. You're not doing this. Like, I have greatest friends around the world these days, and we are not like hanging out on the phones all days. No, we don't do that. We see each other like twice a year. That's good enough. But honestly, most of the time you're on your own, and you have to learn to be happy with yourself. You have to learn to appreciate the time with yourself. You have to learn to have shitty days and bad mood days and still encourage yourself to work hard and to be creative. Especially being creative is hard sometimes, because it gets you and you're like, oh, yeah, I don't have inspiration. I'm like, yeah, but for me, the traveling itself is inspiration. Surrounding myself with different cultures, different languages, different surroundings, different smell, different food taste. Beautiful. This was always the biggest source of inspiration. Not even tattoo books, not even like tattoo conversations, not even hanging out in the shop. For me, the travels itself is just biggest always source of inspiration, which makes like just puts fire in my heart to do it, you know, to get it done, to be creative, to make another artworks for people.
Yeah, phenomenal, man. And yeah, that's like I was saying, like, you know, for me, whether it's if someone's riding a motorbike, someone's into boxing or Muay Thai or playing a guitar or whatever, that's the moments you're living, your senses are on. But traveling as well, I'm fortunate to have done a lot of it as well. It's the senses are really on. And like a guy said to me a while ago, an older guy that I respect a lot, he goes, man, you're very aware, you know, of your surroundings, of a lot of things going on. And yes, tattooing has been a big part of it, but also traveling as well. Yeah. Because, you know, you're not on edge, you're just aware and you're living. Every sense is on. Yeah. Where normally going back and forward to work 5 days a week, the same routine on the bus or the train or driving, you're just getting dumbed down. You know. So.
Yeah, I think the comfort zone can be deadly.
Yep.
That's what I'm afraid of personally.
Yeah.
When every couple of months or every couple of years, really, I have the great idea. Like, hey, I will settle down in this city. I love San Diego. I'm gonna stay in San Diego. Getting my papers sorted, everything prepared. I'm moving to San Diego, living in the most beautiful, picturesque city in America, enjoying my life, you know. Start living healthy, working with great guys. Everything's perfect. 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, I'm sitting in my balcony, perfect little Italy, perfect corner of San Diego, watching the airplanes flying away, and I'm like, I'm starting to miss something. I'm like, I want to go to Hong Kong. And I did. Whenever I find myself in the position when I'm like, I'm going to settle down. I went to Taiwan. Beautiful people. Masters of Taiwan have invited me. I've stayed a couple of months with them. But every few weeks, I had to fly out somewhere just because I cannot be, all the time in the one place. And they understood that. So altogether, I lived there for like 6 months studying with them, which was great, amazing privilege. And I still go back and forth, and we are family. They're incredible people, but like I could not place myself somewhere because I'm getting comfortable. And for me, comfort zone, I know it sounds cliche, but it's just like everyone who's driven have the same thing. Like they know comfort zone is your biggest enemy. They know if you're like getting cozy and you're starting like getting the same food again and talking to the same people and doing the same shit repetitively, it's hard to be creative and hard to pick it up again. You have to have different factors or something which keeps you inspired. It doesn't work for me. For me, I need this stimulus. Travels is like the greatest honor in my life, the greatest thing that ever happened. And like, because of that, I'm like, oh yeah.
It's crazy. I know for me, I was away for 8 years traveling and I came back because I had to. I was forced to.
Which is incredible time. It was
you
did good
best time of my life, man. Wow. It helped make me who I am today, right? But I remember every time, certain times in the year, I'd be like, Glastonbury's on, Running with the Bulls is on, the Oktoberfest is on, this is on, this is on. And I'd still had mates that I'm in contact with, and you just feel this yearning. The first year I was home, I went back to Amsterdam for 4 months and travelled around. The next year, 3. The third year, 2. The fourth year, I didn't go because I was in a relationship. And then I was like, I'm done now. But I'm not. I still managed to get out, but it took me a long time to get over it. And I think the only thing that got me through those years was knowing I'm going to go back. So it's hard. But it's because you've been exposed to so much. And you don't, why would you want to stop? Why do you have to stop? And like you said, maybe you thought you found that magical place, but then it's not.
There is no, I think it's not about the destination. It's about like having that adventure going, Like it's open book. Traveling, it is open book. Like having no idea where you're gonna be in that another place, but you know that you're going somewhere else soon. It's like it's just super exciting,
What was the first thing that made you want to travel?
So initially, so my story starts in Eastern Europe. pretty sad place to grow up. It's pretty gray there.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little bit angry. I mean, I love this place by my heart. It's amazing. I'm very, very grateful to be from there because it's hard.
Yeah.
But it's rough and nobody there to dream.
Yeah.
Like dreaming was a sign of weakness. So me growing up with like pen and pencil in my hands, I've started drawing pretty much when I was 3 years old and I haven't stopped since then. Yeah. That's all I know. And in this world, if I know anything, I know how to draw and that's it. Yeah. Because I've never stopped and luckily my mom encouraged me to do so. So I've been just drawing all my life. Yeah. But coming from like place which was like I don't know, I think like 50% unemployment rate. Yeah. Everybody's sitting on bench drinking beers all days and talking like, you know, how to make it to the next week pretty much, you know. So you're coming from that place, you don't really think about the outside world much. Yeah. But then I had like two things. One was the movies, and I saw as a very young kid, I saw two movies which totally changed my perspective, which makes me desire to travel. Wow. One was Godzilla. And I don't recall really if it was Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla or any other part, but one of those old ones. Yep. And that thing was, I just saw that movie and I was like, shit, I've started drawing monsters. I wanted to go to Japan. Like, it was set somewhere in the back of my head.
There's no internet, there's no Facebook, no Instagram. So this must have been like such a crazy culture shock.
And that VHS cassette tape, you know, rental place on the corner allowed me to have this movie for like 10 times. So I've just keep rewatching it, you know. Yeah. That was one movie. And the second one was, I think, Enter the Dragon.
Nice.
And that opening scene which I told you about today, when like Bruce Lee is like on this little dragon boat, like on the river of Hong Kong. I just, that day I was probably 6 or 7. I made my life goal that one day I will be on that boat in Hong Kong for no reason really, but I just like I felt this immediate like need in my heart to get to that place one day, you know. Fast forward like probably 17, 18 years later. I'm like first time in Hong Kong on that boat and I'm feeling like, this is life, this is it, you know? But another thing, I think from the movies, James Bond. Yeah. And like classical James Bond. I hated Prince Brosnan movies because that was the era when I was teenager. So I didn't like him at that time. I love him now, you know, because the new James Bonds.
What about the really bad one, George Lazenby? Lazenby, the Aussie one.
Yeah, I hate those one, and I hate the Timothy Dalton. I don't really like him. I mean, it's classic now, but it's not Sean Connery.
It's always controversial. Like they had so many strong ones.
Yeah. But the good old ones, that was fire. And for me, the whole concept that this guy is able not to follow any orders really and move freely between those countries, doing crazy shit like that. Yeah. Make my kid imagination grow so wild. Like, hey, how about if I have a job one day, which allows me to travel, or I have passion, which allows me to go around the world and study and educate myself and meet different people from different cultures, and like every week I can be somewhere else, just like James Bond. One opening scene he's in Mexico, next week he's in Tokyo, and next week he's somewhere else. I'm like, how cool is that life? It's not even the girls he slept with or the like guns he shot. It was more about the travel. Like, he's everywhere. He has few passports. It's like insanity. I wanted to be that guy. I couldn't even tell to my friends. Because I would get my shit beaten out of me, you know? So in my neighborhood, you have to be tough and you have to be like very grounded. Like, I'm standing hard on the ground, you know? I'm planning something, but you don't plan to travel. You don't plan to do that. But I knew subconsciously that it will happen. Had no idea how. But there was one more thing. And I remember just now, there was this captain. So, my late grandmother, she used to have a friend, and I met him just once. He was a captain on some sailing ship. Wow. And he would be the dude who told me like the craziest story. He was in Africa, he was in China, he was in India and somewhere else, I don't remember, but 4 or 5 different places, and they were all spread across the world. And at that time, my grandmother used to like show me the like geographical books, I knew the world, and I knew the world is much bigger than my neighborhood. Even my friends told me different. I knew that these continents exist in those countries, and like he would be like, I've been like a month in China last month, and next month we were going somewhere, and I was like, this dude is living James Bond life. I want that, you know. I want to be captain. So the kid's dream was always there, you know. I never knew what's gonna like help me to get there. but I knew I'm gonna like give it all and sacrifice whatever. If I'm gonna be a musician, you know, if I'm gonna be a pianist, I wanna tour the world. If I'm gonna be like, probably about that time I started listening to Kiss, so I like these bands were touring the world. Maybe I'm gonna be in the band. I was never good with music though, but I was just drawing, you know. And started early as a graffiti kid. I probably was 12 when I got into graffiti, and we painted heavily. Like that was the first obsession I ever discovered in my life. Like as soon as I realized I can paint on someone's property on nights.
In your town, were you going out?
No, it was still in my town because going out was like far away. So my friends wouldn't do that, and at that time I still like to do things in groups. I didn't felt like
safety in numbers.
Yes, exactly. So I wasn't lone wolf at that time. I needed like older friends, you know, to show me how the world operates. You know, as soon as they showed me, I was free. I was on my own later, you know, as a late teenager. But at that time, the graffiti was amazing. The best thing that happened. And because of that, I started like, okay, so bringing drawings from my paper, I can put them on the walls and it will last there for a month or years sometimes for people to enjoy. How cool is that concept? And this is where we came across tattoos for the first time. And I saw like a couple of tattoos here and there on people, and it always strikes me like, oh, it's cool, a drawing on the skin, but I would never pay attention until I realized one day the longevity of it. And I was like, oh, so actually, if I would put the drawing on someone's skin, it would last longer than that wall they just repainted, and I painted it last week. So my drawing could be even more permanent.
And also, that's going to travel.
That whole concept, exactly. And that whole concept blew my head away. I was like, shit, this is what I want to do. So of course we were all a bunch of broke graffiti kids with like, you know, purple eyes and like paint all over our hands. That was our life. It was amazing. I wouldn't change it for anything else. But we all wanted tattoos at some point. And that day arrived. There is this guy in the neighborhood. He just came out from a prison. Good old prison story, you know. And we all know that he had the skills of tattooing. So we were like, shit, we're broke. Can go ask a guy to give us a tattoo because like he would be the shit out of it. So we gotta find a way. Okay, I will approach him and I will ask him to borrow us a machine. Let's see how it works. Because he had that magical tool, you know? The tool of trade. We don't know
the
what...
prison wizard.
Yes, exactly. So I'll show up at this guy's place and I was frightened, you know? He was like one of the scary dudes. Like he had like spider web here and like the crazy things around the eyes, like pretty lunatic, you know? Like Eastern European block lunatic. Like one of those, like, you know, probably stabbed someone in the throat. And like he did like 12 years and just came out last week and I'm going there to ask him for a machine. Like scary moment, you know? But I have to, because he's the only one with the knowledge how to put those pictures on people's skin. So I'm like, I gotta go, you know? Like nothing can stop me. And out of my whole crew, I didn't mention that because I was the only guy drawing characters. So I was painting faces. So I was obviously the drawing guy and the rest of the guys were doing letters. I was never into letters. I did tons. But it was not my thing. So because of that, I was naturally the guy who's gonna do tattoos because I can draw. So I'll take a pen, I'll draw cool stuff on them, and I'll tattoo them. That was the concept. So I went to the guy, arranged a meeting with him. Maybe we meet like outside of like, you know, bottle shop, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, just like bring me some weed, and I'll borrow your machine for 24 hours." And I remember 24 hours was a keyword there, and I was like, "Sounds like a plan. I'll be here tomorrow at 5, whatever, you know." So I'll go back to neighborhood. We all chipped in from like, you know, some small change. Like I remember I have to borrow from like 3 people. Some rest of the money, brought him back of weed. He borrowed me a machine. What was the machine? You can imagine, you know, the guitar string, the pen, the folded frame, you know, and the battery from like sports remote car for kids. That was the one. Obviously he did those machines in prison. He was pretty successful. He told me the story, like he tattooed everyone there and he's like very high in hierarchy because his art skills are insane. He was very thinking highly of himself. I was thinking that's the coolest person ever. I was frightened, but I was like, wow.
In awe, like,
like, wow, dude.
He's talking to me, he's lending me a machine.
Dude. So I borrowed the machine, went straight back into my basement, tattooed the shit out of my friends. Like, first minute, like, you know, and tattooing, like, don't even get me started how we proceed with a procedure. There was no procedure.
Next.
I was just like, who's sitting here? He's getting stabbed. And usually here, because they were sitting like that so they can hold the chair because tattoos hurts, apparently. We didn't know that before, you know? So I got like a couple of green lines from back in that day, literally.
And yeah, we started doing that. I did like 24 hours straight of tattooing because I knew I have to like return the machine.
Yeah.
By the probably hour like 18 or 19, like people were passing out in my basement. We were sleeping because we didn't go out and sleep to home because we have tattoo machine.
Yeah.
Like we have something to live for
Magical
now.
moment, yeah.
So like, you know, man, like everyone's mother was at some point banging the doors like 4 in the morning or 4 in the afternoon. We were still there, like clocked in basement, like crazy, you know? That was beautiful. And I remember by the end of it, like probably 20th hour, one of my friends take the machine apart. I was not the tech guy, but he was.
Yeah.
Because we had to figure how we can continue doing that. You know? So I returned the machine to the guy, but we're gonna make our one.
Yeah, nice.
Beautiful construction was created the next day, bro. Fork. Yeah, folded fork as a frame.
Yeah.
Big pen, those yellow big pens.
Yeah.
As a
Tube?
grip tube. Yeah. Guitar string, which I find out a couple of weeks later that you're supposed to sharpen those things. I didn't know. Who would know? I just cut it
traditional lines from the
and
start.
I literally took it from my friend's guitar, not knowing even the size of it. Later, I would find out that 00 was the one. I took probably some thick one because it looks better.
It's more stable.
Haven't sharpened it and started tattooing with that tool of a thing. I remember we couldn't find any battery pack. So any of those like either Walkman or cars. We didn't have Walkman probably at that time, but we found some keyboard power supply, and with 2 cords we managed to get it to work. Let's say work, you know. It did scars on my friend's legs, so it worked, you know. And I remember at that time. So I started tattooing and I proceed, and it's been 23 years now, and I haven't looked back. Like,
amazing.
As soon as I've touched the needle on the skin at that early days, that was the best feeling ever, because the whole concept that somebody will carry this artwork around through their lifetime, it was the most like magical, surreal thing for me. So I've never looked back, and I remember tattooing was difficult because like nobody would tell me how to do that. Sure. So obviously we would like force needle into the skin, like the more blood was there, the better, you know, the like healing process 6 months was like average, you know, in the neighborhood. Those scars are probably still recent today, you know what I mean? But everybody was pumped. We were all psyched, like, you know, my friends got crazy tattoos.
And that's the start of your escape.
And like exactly. That was like that was my path, and that was the start of escape. And very early, because just like 3-4 years later, I started working with like the best tattoo studio at that time in Poland. They took me around Europe for the conventions, and I got very successful in the very early age, because I was just like 20, 21 when I started winning awards and making it. I think just because I've never stopped drawing. So drawing was like my thing. I didn't have enough skill set to make a good tattoo, but I would put so crazy drawings on my friend's skin all over them. Like even those pieces which still is the photo like somewhere around the internet with like tons of colorful sleeves I did. It was early days. It's all free tattoos I did on the friends.
Jack, you tattooed the other day. He that was his inspiration. He said, I remember seeing this photo, and he goes, I only just realized 6 months ago, this is Davee.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
But it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, all those tattoos were done for free, just to practice, just for friends, sleepless nights, you know, tons of hours of just sweat and like, and if you look closely in those tattoos, there is no tattoo drawings on them. They're all like made up things from my head. And because of that creativity, I was appreciated first. So later on, I would learn how to actually tattoo, working with great tattoo artists around the world. But at first, it was just that. There was pure mixture of luck, being creative, and not following anyone really in the either tattoo or graffiti world. Because that's the important part from graffiti days. I learned very early that you're not allowed to copy. It's called biting. And if you bite somebody's style or a letter or something, you get beaten up by the older guys. Get that twice. So I learned very fast. Probably at the age of 13, I was like, I can't never copy. I have to do my own shit. This tough street lesson gave me so much in my life that I'm so most grateful for it, probably. That was exactly the lesson why I never like followed any trends, particular styles or anything. Because that was like, that was tough lesson.
Amazing.
So that's Eastern Europe, you know?
Full on. When, like one of my...
90s in Europe.
Did you ever come across like Bernie Luther back in the day?
And I've heard about him for sure in my early days in London. I've never met the guy. That was like too far. People.
Yeah, because
still
he
for
was
me.
one of the early traveling guys.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing Outlaw Biker magazine or Tattoo International, a photo of him with his bandana, his rock and roll hair, like a cut-off vest, like leaning down on like a port, like on a dock, and a ship in the background, and reading it and traveling. And this was before I traveled.
Yeah.
And about then, all my friends were overseas traveling. And I'm like, oh man, fuck, wow. This could be
But
it.
they've been traveling for different reasons, no?
Yeah, just
not
Aussie
tattoo.
backpackers.
Okay, yeah.
And they would call me up, hey man, what are you doing? Come in, blah, blah. And eventually I went a year later. But with all of that, after Europe, what was next? Because you obviously been to Hong Kong before that.
So first was Japan. Japan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
First was Japan, and in Japan I've been fortunate to visit 2 conventions. That was that was second edition of King of Tattoo, or first one. It might be the first one. There was Tokyo Tattoo Show 1999.
Yes. Yep.
After that there was nothing going on until 2006 when there was first King of Tattoo.
Yep. Wow.
Organized by Katsuta and those guys. So I went to see the convention, which was insane because I'm still this like big child, you know, in this pet store because I'm like I'm seeing those masters. I've heard their names before, you know, like all of the people were there, you know, like all of the G's from like Japan world. It was insane. I didn't get to meet them. I just stared at them. But that was early, and like 2-3 years later, I will eventually get to know them, and they will see me enough that they actually allowed me in their circles. But at first I was just like, wow, I was this guy drooling at those people and seeing all these bodysuits first time in my life in flesh. That was the most insane memory, and that was the very first trip. I remember spending like good 2 weeks in Ueno just living out of a park bench. Because I was broke, but I didn't want to come back to Europe because there was still so many cool things to see and do in Tokyo. And staying in that park, there was a bunch of homeless people, but you know, Japanese homeless people are so neat and organized. And they're healthy. They don't have rotting leg and all that crap, you know. They're usually not even alcoholics. They're like tight, they're organized, they have like beautiful tents, they fold them during the day. They're
Back
like,
to the old school respect.
oh, insane. So I would hang out there for a couple of weeks, but I remember those guys had bodysuits. And those guys had bodysuits. Maybe not completed, but they had like a lot of areas on their body, big areas covered. And that was so cool, you know? Yeah, there is like this area for taking showers in the park, which is like kind of a private, but you can go there and everybody's naked. It's like onsen, but like for broke people.
Wow.
In the park. The government really look after them too. So they have like these perks of living in that park so they don't stay on the street. And I remember seeing like amazing bodysuits there, and I was like, wow, this is amazing, you know. And on the second trip, I think a year later, I met the Cat Claw guys from Kyoto, so I went to Kyoto for the first time, and then the rest is history.
Mate, they must have just eaten you up. Like Japan must have loved you at that stage.
That was like, so I started doing this yearly. I could afford I stayed as long as I could. Then I flew back with this terrible layover, like, you know, 23 hours in Moscow with Aeroflot, the worst airlines in the world, because that's the only way I can get from Europe to Japan on like, you know, $500 US dollar budget. For a flight ticket and 500 in my pocket for X amount of weeks, you know? I'm gonna stay there. So, that was it.
Wow.
On the following trips, I got to meet Horimitsu, who showed me, like, where is Horitoshi Studios and all that. I've met Horiyoshi III, of course, and a couple of incredible tattooers from Yokohama. So it all started to become, like, tighter. But I knew subconsciously I will never do Japanese tattoos. Like, since day one, since I was exposed to this artwork, I was the most amazed by it. I love it, the deepest part in my heart. I think this is the coolest. Like Japanese tattoos are the coolest. Like this is the Japanese tattooing, and this is the rest of the whole art world of tattoos. You know, I love it like from the bottom of my heart. But out of that graffiti kid past and that thing which was forced by me, that understanding of like I have to have my own artwork. And I have to like create something which is gonna be mine. I can't follow up what these guys did before me. So obviously years later, I spent almost 17 years in Asia. But years later, I got to do I got to study in like with all the best masters in like Korea, Taiwan, all over Japan again, back and forth, and Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, obviously, all those Asian countries. So I got to like understand how Japanese tattooing work by spending hundreds of hours watching them, either creating art or actual tattoos. So I understand how it works and function, and I decided to like borrow little parts of it, incorporate it with my artwork, and just make it mine.
Yeah, it's amazing fusion of style, and
exactly,
like you've created something completely different with your own thing, and obviously from the traditions and all the travels. And you know, I was saying before, like the hardest thing to do for an artist is to have an individual style, instantly recognizable. You've had that pretty early on, and all from that drawing, and not wanting to copy and do letters. Where, you know, even say for example, a lot of the Asian masters teach to copy.
Exactly. This is
There's not a lot of freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's actually the freedom in Japanese tattooing. You know how difficult it is to get to the freedom? Yeah. You gotta be adept. There is some rules, and there is like written rules. You gotta be adept of like at least 35 years of real traditional irezumi until you can start to get out and break the rules. Yeah. And I don't want to name people because obviously it's not my business, but I know 2 or 3 tattooers who did that. Yeah. With that experience, with that understanding that they are not allowed to do it earlier. They had plans years before to do something different, but they were not allowed to work out of that frame. So it really takes a lot to, with Japanese tattooing. For sure. And if you want to break out, but for me, I'm like, I'm gaijin. I'm okay. I'm safe. I can do anything. Yes.
You've had the
if
best.
I'm respectful, 100%. If I'm polite, if I show that I have heart and dedication, but I still do my own thing, for some reason I got like accepted everywhere. Yeah, and it's great.
Yeah. I remember talking to like Horiyasu years ago and going, you know, drunk, having a good laugh.
Horiyasu,
great sense
over
of humor,
years,
right? Great sense of humor, and saying,
he's like the best.
So what do you think about, you know, a Westerner doing like a tiger head on a koi, and he's like, go for it, I don't care, but you got the freedom.
You know what I did once?
And that's the one.
Yeah, exactly. He's the greatest. He's an unbelievable person. I'm still a baby, probably like, I don't know, 25-year-old. Horiyasu shop, little private studio, Asakusa. I'm like, first time visiting him. I was probably announced by someone. Like someone called him up and was like, hey, there is this Davee, the gaijin from Porando, you know. He wanna visit, like, please look after him. So I was recommended. I went there on my own. I show up and I'm like, talking. There was these 2 apprentices of him. They were with side of him for like good 10 years, I remember. Probably 2010 maybe. Anyway, I'm talking with him and I'm like, the guy's translating, the one of his apprentices is fluent in English and he's translating. I don't know if he was apprentice or a friend, but he was translating. I'm like, master, can I have like you tattoo a flower on my head? And we were good until that moment. And this is like when I showed up my like idiocy of like being gaijin and asking traditional tattoo master to tattoo my head. I'm like, and he was like, you're nice, but no. And I was like, I knew I screwed. I didn't know where I screwed just yet, you know. Years later, I would find out that it's like, you know, there is particular tattooers who are happily to tattoo even your face if you ask them. But those like more conservative masters are like, they're looking at you just like silly goose, like, you know, just... Go away. And he loved me. I'm happy that we continue relationship. I've traveled with him across China conventions, met him many times in Taiwan, multiple times in Japan. He's great. But he's always looking at me like, like, where's my head tattoo? And I'm like, I never had one, you know? It was so silly of me to even ask that question, but I didn't know.
But innocent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just wanted to have, like, you know, tattoo from the greatest of the greatest, but... I would know that he's not tattooing hands, and whatever. He's like proper OG, you know. Amazing. Amazing.
I remember one of my most embarrassing. I got a big piece on my inner thigh. Name's gone right now. How bad's that? Haritoku. Right. So lined up, got this big piece on the last session. I'm laying on my front. I swear he's got his thumb up my ass, getting all tapped away. And then he stopped to have a cigarette break, and I got up and I turned around and kicked the tray over with all the needles and ink on it on the floor. and I just hit the deck. I was like, so sorry. Like my red burnt. My Japanese mates in the corner, Megu, just going.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I mean, he was cool, but I just felt like the biggest dickhead.
The
biggest fuckhead.
Yeah.
And then ended up finishing it and going from there. Like extra big tip because I was such a loser.
Oh my god!
But yeah, it's like.
I love what the years and years of going back and forth to Japan, like how they changes you. You know, like these days. Like whenever I'm traveling to Japan, like one thing I recommend to all my tattooed friends who ever go there, like just dress up, like be polite, out of respect, like wear long sleeve, don't wear shorts in public. You don't want to be this like weird looking gaijin, ignorant idiot walking around with your tattoos and thinking you're cool because you're not cool there. Like they're over that. Their grandparent was like fully tattooed like you know, and they went over that with many problems on the way, which I don't have to explain to you, but it's not welcome. And it's unpolite from you. And if you want to be not seen through, as Japanese people would do when they see gaijin, like let's face it, they just look through you. They don't care about you and your presence and existence there. If you have tattoos on the top of that, you're an idiot. They see through you and you're an idiot. So over years, I've learned to like overcome this. And even though I have many visible tattoos, I always dress as I supposed to, and Japanese people do appreciate that because they know you have tattoos. It's very obvious. They can see your tattooed fingers or whatever, but they see you have a manner of hiding them in public out of respect. They love it. So like just there is a unwritten rules, but if you behave better, you're gonna be treated better. And I'm not talking about tattoo world because it's completely different in Japan. I'm talking about like normal public encounters. Yes. I can show up anywhere in Japan if you're like dressing nicely, if you're polite, if you're trying to hide in those tattoos, you're okay. You're like you're gonna be welcomed and you're gonna be alright, So that's one of the lessons, But there is tons of those lessons.
Yes, but that's traveling as well.
I think Japan just makes you a better person every time, Instead of being this loud, like visible asshole with all your tattoos, you just became like, you want to be untraceable there. You want to be like in the crowd, Yeah,
I remember like, traveling one time, coming back from Cambodia into Thailand, and we're on a boat, and there's some loud American football jocks like screaming about the war and everything and blah blah blah, and it's just like, fuck man, you're the ugly tourist. And even Australia, we have the ugly Aussie abroad as well, and it's like, it is nice to be toned. You don't need everyone to know you and see you and know what's going on. And
you don't even need to be loud. If you show your tattoos in public in those places, it's kind of like being loud. Over there, you know what I mean? Like you're disrespectful, pretty much. So whoever is willing to travel there, just like ask us. Come have a question.
Let's do some. All right. So, how many passports have you had?
That's a hard one because probably over this almost 2 decades worth of travels, probably like 8. I went through 8 passports. Wow. I've never lost one though. I've never lost a passport, and that's a rare case. I've never lost a wallet.
Ever sold one?
No, I've never did. I can't say. Next question.
How many flights have you had? Like in 1 year? What's your record in flights in 1 year?
So I aspired to be as cool as Chad Koplinger. Chad is the best. Nice. Chad, as many of you guys know, and some who don't know, is a legend. He's been tattooing for good, probably 30 years now. He's been traveling the world excessively for many, many years before me, and I was lucky and privileged to meet him on many occasions, but one of the first times I've met him, I remember this is not important. This is like insider.
Yeah.
But I remember he was aspiring to do 100 flights a year.
Wow.
And at that point I couldn't do that. I remember I always counted the flights. So each year I have my little notebook with all the flights typed and with the airport codes. So I do I'm flying Berlin, Helsinki, next arrow Hell, next arrow HKG, Hong Kong, next arrow somewhere, So I'll do that. I went from 50 to 60 flights a year between 2010 to 2018. And 2018 is the year where all went up from me. I think a year before, which is 2016 or 17, Chad did 100 flights. And I was like, wow, this guy did it. He's amazing. Being on 100 flights within 1 year makes you pretty much every 3-4 days, you're on different place, different city, different country. on occasions on different continents. When you're traveling as much as I do, you're usually on different, like, whole different pace. And I remember he did it before me, so he's absolute champ when it comes to like travels. He shortly after he almost stopped traveling, but I kept going. And I did it in 2018. I did 100 flights. So my biggest traveling goal, which was like so inaccessible for many years.
Yeah.
Because like getting close to this point, it's like you're just tired at some point. You're jet lagged all year, and that's a big problem.
Right.
Because you're not sleeping well. You're like, and you still like tattoo in places. You still like educate yourself. You still do fun stuff, but you're not sleeping well. So it's like whole year is screwed. I felt like I know how like aviation people feel like on daily. Like it's hard, It takes toll for sure. I was big and obese too, so it doesn't help. You're a big guy. You're non-stop on the flights.
Small economy seats, you're not flying first class.
But then it's like so rewarding. But that year, I got so many miles.
I remember seeing this.
2019, I flew pretty much first class or business class around the world globally. Because I collected so many miles over those years that all my cards went gold.
Yeah.
So with all airline alliances at that point, from like mid-2018, I started traveling comfortable.
Wow.
Which was amazing because I would buy economy ticket, upgrade everything with points and miles. I collected over those years, so that was smart.
Yeah.
And then 2019, I was trying to do this again. I did like 92 or 94 flights, so that was pretty close to the same record again. I couldn't do that for I don't remember even what was the reason. Probably something personal. I had to be somewhere for a couple of weeks at the time.
When you did the 100, were you tempted to do 101?
No, it was like 29th December probably. It was like really that close. And there was like 6 or 7 flights I would bought for the December, which were no point. Like I had nothing to do in that place. I just bought it for sake of flying.
Yeah.
There was as ridiculous, just to prove this 100, just prove the number. Bro, imagine this. I'm flying from Warsaw in Poland to Shanghai. I remember flight Warsaw-Shanghai. You can book like, there is a couple of options. You can go through Helsinki, like one stop Helsinki, Shanghai. Pretty easy one. You can go Frankfurt, Shanghai, direct. You can go, if you want to collect miles, you can go Madrid, Warsaw to Madrid, Madrid to Schiphol, Amsterdam, I believe, Amsterdam, Istanbul, Singapore, I think Guangzhou, China, and then Shanghai. You, instead of collecting like probably 12,000 miles, you're collecting like 36. So I'm like, you're losing 3 days, but it's like, it's worth it.
Ticking the box,
Dude, so I did ridiculous things like this for those flights, just to mark off the numbers actually. And it was amazing. But back in 2019, I think I did like my biggest traveling goal and dream happened, which was traveling and making at least one tattoo on all 7 continents within the 1 year. I gave myself 1 year to do that. An interesting thing, there is like, as far as I know, there is 2 people in tattoo history who did that before me. So I was the 3rd person to ever do that. The first one was the late Little Turtle, the legend. So I remember he was like mid-70s, correct me if I'm wrong.
I think he was here before or just after when he did it.
Amazing, So they did organize to send him over there to Antarctica and mark off his 7th
From New Zealand?
continent.
You go down?
I went from Argentina, Ushuaia. Yeah, I went from Argentina. I don't know where he went from. I need to look it up again. But he was the first person. And the second person, which not many people know, it's Adam, young tattooer from LA. He did it year before me. So he was backpacking for a whole year, traveling the world. And I mean, not many people know he's like very humble, nice guy. I met him last year only. So years after we both did that, but we were like obviously in touch on the internet, like, hey, how you did that and how you went there and this and that. But finally we met last year. He owned a nice shop, Strange Love, LA. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Adam Noor. Great guy, great traveler. He's this American Vietnamese dude. He's super nice and he did it backpacking pretty much. He went the same way as me. He did like, I believe he started like Australia, then Asia, a couple of stops in Asia, then he went to Europe, North, South America. Then from Ushuaia, the same like southernmost tip of Argentina in Patagonia, you take in a boat, but it's very hard to get tickets for those boats. So getting to Antarctica is either super expensive or you gotta be lucky. There is no
not like a fancy ship or like a
so there is cruise
supply ship,
but they
or
are not
something.
really cruise ship. They're explorer ships.
Yeah.
So I got on explorer ship. I believe he did as well.
Yeah.
But he did something completely different than me. He waited a couple of weeks there. He waited because he knew there is like 3 or 4 ships only sailing at the time to Antarctica from that place, and you can only do that for 3 months a year.
Yeah.
Because the rest of the year the weather is completely fucked, and
Yeah.
you're not allowed to sea travel. So there is only that gap from November till the end of February. So he stayed there from like mid-October, already waiting until somebody would cancel, so he can get that very last seat on one of the boats. And he waited, and apparently he got it like really cheap or like, super discounted because somebody just didn't show up.
Yep.
And he went on the boat and he did that. So it's great. He brought a couple of needles and like bottle of ink and tattooed like a couple of people who were traveling with him because apparently there was like boat full of like backpackers. Super fun story, But it's his story to tell one day. And me, I did the same. I did like first 6 continents, including like New Zealand, Canada, all those amazing places, couple of stops in Asia. I did in December, January, February, and end of February I did Antarctica, but I got on the ship, which the tickets are sold out 2-3 years in advance for those ships, usually. But then somebody canceled, and that was a group of Chinese people. So my friend called me from China, like, hey Dave, you can get on this ship, it's in 2 weeks, it's sailing to Antarctica where you want it, and it's cheap, and she gave me the number, and I was like, just book me in, But so just so you know, everything will be in Chinese, and you're gonna sail with like 500 Chinese people on the board. I'm like, sign me in. This is it. Like, I'm going, I was already on the way to South America then. So I was like, I gotta do it. This is the moment, I've been waiting for. And I was thinking it's gonna happen the following November the same year. So the whole 7 continents trip will take me a year, but it happened like 2 weeks later. So apparently I did it over like four months. I did whole 7 continents. Ended up traveling from Ushuaia for 3 days down to the shore of Antarctica and then cruising 11 days on the shore with multiple staff. So we got to sit with penguins and like, experience this unbelievable place of nature for 11 days and then sail back. And this is where I did my little number 7 hand tapped on my...
On the land or on the ship?
I did it on the land.
Amazing.
One of the landings, they watched us very closely. But I had to pretend I'm feeling sick, and it was my birthday. So I was like just sitting there. I had like my new like probably 2 5RL needles. I had a small bottle of Dynamics, the 1OZ ones. I unpacked it. I dipped the needle a couple times. I was sitting there chilling with penguins. Funny fact about Antarctica: everywhere it smells like a chicken farm.
Wow.
They poop. And there is millions of penguins. And millions of penguins poop is everywhere in the snow. So you sit there, it smells like a farm, and you're like just tattooing, hand poking this pink on myself. It's like the best moment of my life. Like, that was the greatest achievement for as like crazy obsessive traveler as I would ever could do, So
it's phenomenal.
I think that was the highlight. And after this, I couldn't even complete 100 flights on that 2019 year. I was okay with that. 2020, I tried again, but you know how it ended, so...
Life was... So that obviously slowed you down after all of those years. And, like, you left here. Where did you go after here? Were you on your way back
to
Europe or Asia?
So I started 2020 in Bali. From Bali, I flew here with Matt, and that was still, like, end of January. January 2020. I flew to Auckland, New Zealand. Met Ferdo and a couple of friends there, hang out with them for a couple of days. And I supposedly was flying back to China on like 2nd of February, but the borders were already closing. And I got information from my Chinese people that, hey, you shouldn't come now because right now we're closing and they don't know where they're going to let you out. And I was like, I had like stuff to do in China, so I was like, okay, might as well book the tickets to Japan and just wait over like how long this pandemic can last, a week or 2. I'm gonna be alright. It's Japan. It's always great excuse to travel to. So I've booked another tickets from Auckland. I believe there is direct flight even to Tokyo, And yeah, I stayed in Tokyo until end of February when I realized like shit is about to go down,
because in Europe they had like cases. Italy was mad at that time, and Spain, and like nothing was opening really in Asia. So I was like, might as well fly back to Poland. It's end of February. I'm just gonna renew my passport. Be back in Asia next month. No time, you know. Just gonna do that, like my yearly thing to renew the passport in Poland. Yeah, they never let me out.
So I flew back. No, I'm sorry. I flew back into Poland. And they were announcing in public TV that within a week they're gonna close the border of Poland. So I call up my friends in London. I'm like, Ashley, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, just come over. So I flew into London for 2 days. From London, I flew into Morocco for 3 days.
Wow.
And fly back to Morocco to Warsaw day before closing the gate. So I still did a lot of flights in 2020. I've started this year aggressively, and I didn't want it to stop because I was like, what if they gonna lock me in for like a month or two, you know? What if I cannot do it? And I had like promised someone that I'm gonna take them to Morocco. That was like, I have to do it, you know? So just booked those flights, went to London, went to Morocco. On the way back, they pretty much like the next day they announced that we are not allowed to leave the country anymore. And we gotta stay home, and like we all gonna die, you know? Like the fear started, you know?
Oh man, mate. The
that was insane.
They did an amazing job.
Oh, they frightened us all.
They did
Bro,
the best
I didn't
job
want
ever.
to see people for like good 2 months. I stayed looking into my friend's house. We just like we didn't go out. Like
man, like you know, my girlfriend in the first couple of days was making me take I was still out and about and whatever. Like fuck this, change my clothes at the door, put a new pair of clothes on in the plastic bag, in the bin, go up, have a shower, and then after 2 days, I said, you got to stop watching the TV.
Yeah.
Got to stop.
Yeah, that was the healthiest thing to do, honestly.
It's gonna be okay.
That was the healthiest thing to do.
But yeah, it was a wild time.
Yeah, that was like the first time in many years. I didn't tattoo regularly, but luckily I stayed at my friend's home and I'm working on his bodysuit.
So
we were okay, you know? Like I didn't take appointments. I didn't have like my new back pieces to start, but I still have my best homie to work on his body. We did like multiple, like probably 22 sessions or whatever over that like 2-month frame, you know? Like he was like straight up tattoo bed. He have private beautiful tattoo studio in his basement and he live upstairs. And he would get tattoo for like 6-7 hours, then go straight to bed, lie down there, stay for 2 days until temperature went down. He went back down, we tattoo again, you know. I painted and I tattooed. I painted, I tattooed. And he would just eat, get tattoo and suffer in the bed for 2-3 days, you know, getting Panadol and like going back to get tattoo. We really did so much on his body. And he's giant too, so it's like proper good tattoo work.
There was a lot of
Funny thing, his bodysuit full of just traditional background. There is nothing else, just background everywhere. Yeah. So it's like the coolest thing ever to tattoo, you know. Like this is the ultimate tattoo. One of those. Good.
In the set we had 2 lockdowns here. In the second one, I started getting my bodysuit redone.
Okay.
I'm just like fuck it, you know, like why not? You know, it was good. There was a lot of it going on. Yeah. So then obviously after that you're like locked down for a while.
Yeah, I was one and a half year in the country, like without even leaving the borders. Like it was
like
weird.
Full locked.
Yeah,
wow.
It was weird. Yeah. So
in your mind, making new plans. What am I going to do when the day I get out of jail?
Dude. Like whole bright future is like out there, you know, carved in stone in my mind. Not really. No, I think what I've learned over pandemic, I've definitely started looking after myself. We lost tons of weight.
Did this transformation start in Poland?
This transformation started the first day of pandemic.
Wow. Your mind just went like this? Or you set a new goal?
You know what? Like probably during the last couple of weeks of my crazy travels. And I can say crazy travels because after Tokyo, London, Morocco, I think in that days, I've just started realizing that I'm fat. And I've heard that before. People told me like I'm fat or I'm like big and I should look after myself, but I've never paid attention because I was happy fat. You know me from then. I was the happiest fat person ever.
But no body issues or
I've
like
never
knees or back or.
I luckily never had any injuries from that title. I was like a big 150 kilogram guy, you know. So
like the big like jolly giant, like array of fun.
Happy and not like broken, not complaining about my lower back issues, not tattooer problems, not, you know, nothing. So I was just literally first or second day of pandemic, I've started going for long walks. There was nothing to do. There was no people on the streets.
Yep.
There was nothing. And we are in countryside in my friend's big house, where's the tattoo studio in the bottom. And I started just going on the long walks, like 3-4 hour walks. Beautiful for your psyche. Mental health. Amazing, you know? What I started to realizing after a week or two of those long walks, I started losing weight. I started feeling a little bit lighter. I was like, shit, might do something about like, maybe people are right. Maybe I'm fat. Like, let's read a book about food. And that was like groundbreaking moment. Like I started reading books and I discovered this new obsession. I've started realizing that we should treat food as a nourishment, not as like getting stuffed, which I did over years. I think the biggest problem for me was like I work really long hours all the time. I never eat shit. And then in the middle of night, after I'm done with everything, I would stuff myself to death, you know?
And Asia, everything's
Nobody told me
fried.
better. Over years, nobody told me better, like, you know? And nobody ever told me, like, hey, you should eat lighter and, like, few meals a day, but light ones would be better for you. I didn't know what is carbs, what is, like, you know, what is protein. Like,
you think 2,000 calories of fucking Big Macs and McDonald's is different to 2,000 calories of vegetables. The nutrients are totally different.
100%. And, I've read a couple of, like, very interesting books, and I actually became a vegan.
I've been a vegan. I'm a swinger now.
Because like there is interesting book written by this madman Jason Joseph. You know, Eats for Pussies.
Yes, exactly.
That book fucking changed my mind. First few pages. If you're a aware person, if you're like smart, if you're reading that book, first few pages makes you not want to eat meat again. Like ever. Like he's so disgusting. He's so mean. He's with his fucking New Yorkie attitude. He's going straight to the like, if you eat meat, you're a fucking piece of shit. You're this. It's so bad for your liver. This. It will destroy your health. He's so mean. It's like listening to hardcore back in the days. He's so direct.
His Instagram today is still amazing, man. He's getting on there.
I'm totally not following up what this guy's up to, but his book. His book, it's like the first thing I recommend to obese people. Like, go for a walk and read that book. Drop meat for a good 2-3 years. That's what I did. I did for 3 years. Almost magic happened, you know? So long walks and a couple of smart knowledge about eating. Changing my eating habits, of course, and quitting cigarettes somewhere on the way was very important parts of it. Like cigarettes was my last addiction I was dealing with, like unhealthy addiction. Because now I can say sports or like travels are okay. But at that time I still would chain smoke 2 packs a day. I don't know why. Like
all your time in Asia.
But then when I started losing weight and I was working through my metamorphosis, many people were saying to me, don't stop smoking, because if you stop smoking you start gaining weight. Actually, that's not true. That's bullshit. That's because you're snacking, of course. But if you control yourself to not snack in the first place, then you can eliminate cigarettes. You're good. You're good to go, you know, just strong mindset is needed, necessary. I chain smoked for 21 years. That was nasty. And I smoke with those Asians, with my people, you know, like we smoke, like we don't play, you know, like we chain smoke all day, all night, you know. So, I mean, that was also an important part of that. And altogether, until mid last year, I lost 53 kilos, something like that.
What were your kilos at your heaviest?
What was my heaviest? Probably 150,
So a third. Amazing.
I've lost like a person jump out of my body. You know? And right now I'm back like 15 kilograms plus. But I'm building muscle mass, so it's like completely different. I'm a whole different journey. I'm eating tons of meat now. 3 meals a day are meat, but lean protein, and it's like completely different story because I want to get somewhere else.
So tell us the story about when you were in San Diego at that time, and Aaron's eating a salad, and he was talking to you and the young guy. Because we were talking about, like, from our generation, there's really no good role models. Exactly. It's like you said, it's this crazy biker pirate guy sniffing coke, drinking Jack Daniels, and smoking and fucking strippers.
Making cash, spending it overnight, and being the coolest person ever. That's our role models, you know. And aspiration is like to get face tattoo. It's like the coolest thing ever. One day, if I'm cool enough, I'll get a fucking anchor here, you know. That was my dream when I was 19. Like, this is like my role model.
My vision of me, I remember thinking, being at like 18 years of age, tattooing a couple of years, going, wonder what I'm going to look like at 25. And my vision was a ponytail, ZZ Top kid, little pot gut.
No shit. Yeah.
Riding a Harley.
Oh my god.
Like some little pussy bikey.
Yeah. Dude.
And thankfully, it didn't happen.
Dude, years later that we know that it's all insecurities, huh?
Yeah.
It's like right now I'm like, do I really want it to be that guy? You know?
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
So back to Aaron, what happened? Because he was.
Yeah, that was like I'm in San Diego, probably 2012 or 13, visiting one of my best friends in the world, Honky Kong, Alan. He's a legend. I remember we eating like those unhealthy, shitty foods all the time, like greasy Mexican burritos. First thing
American
in the morning.
food's big,
gigantic sizes. Give me double of everything, please. Make my quesadilla ridiculous like that, you know. I want all the cheese you got, not some of it, you know. You have 4 cheeses, give me 5, you know what I mean? And we eat this greasy breakfast, and then there is Aaron, owner of Guru Tattoo. He's the dude who would spend $50 on like a lunchbox, and lunchbox consists of lettuce, and maybe some carrot, and like some weird shit. Like people shouldn't eat it. It's a rabbit's food, you know. I was ignorant, fat, happy person. Assuming that I'm doing something good for myself because I'm feeding myself, you know. And he was just looking at us like, hey, you guys are stupid, you know. Like, why you do that to yourselves, you know? Like, you're gonna end up like, you know, spending tons of money. Like, whatever I'm like topping up my food with, like, I'm not gonna spend on hospital bills later. Little that we know that he was so smart. Honky Kong's great. He never been obese or like weird like me, but I was honestly a monster at that point, and I was like proud of my like quesadillas, so it's like dripping my blood. I was like, what this old guy is talking about? Like healthy, like lettuce, you know. So years later, I'm looking back at this with retrospection, like that guy was smart.
It's
he was just preventing himself to be miserable piece of shit when by the age of like, you know, 50 later.
Even now, like there's guys here that are in their early 30s and they're broken, and I'm like, and even some of the mindset, like we've just had like a sports massage guy come in here, and I was even in our group chat, I offered, all right, everyone, it's $150. I said, look, for 2 weeks, you pay 100, I'll pay 50 to try and encourage people to look after themselves. 2 people took it up. And
I mean,
I'm like, but then you try.
I mean, Marius, we got to do something about it because like health subject or like taking care of yourself, both physically, mentally, in our industry, it's like it's neglected. Like it doesn't exist, you know.
Like people until it hurts, they don't do shit, you know. And that's the problem with male in general. With men, women are a little bit better at it, but we all like suffer, and until the time we really suffer, we don't realize something's wrong, you know. I luckily skipped that part. I don't know how. Subconsciously, somehow I've started like preventing it before it was too late, and I was probably a week from disaster, or a month, or a year.
Man, anything could have happened.
You know, I was big. I was like. I haven't got any healthy habit at that time. Like I was just like, you know,
trying to kill yourself.
I was just thinking that's okay. That's the way you live, you know.
And there is that association with food and comfort, and I'm fucked. I want to be full. I want to pass out. Whatever.
I want to be full, and that comes from like poverty too, you know. Because when you're a kid, you're hungry. You're 20, 25. You're making some money. You want to spend it all on food, you know. You're splurging. You want to drink all the booze you can, you know.
Well, you know as well.
Booze was terrible over years too. Make me like that, you know. Luckily, I quit alcohol a couple of years before that change. That really saved me like good 10-15 kilograms probably too, you know. That's nothing else than like sugar in your
with
body,
all of this, man. Fuck, you put easy probably 10 years on your life. You know,
this is how I look at it now. I've probably extended it for a nice.
The good thing now is, even though not many people are aware of it, but I think they will be, like, you know, like people go to me, how old are you? I go, I'm nearly 50. They're like, fuck, really? I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I've still been a party guy, been a pirate, all this stuff. But, you know, I think later on, probably 35, I started to work out. I got to exercise. I got to do this. I got to do that. And one girlfriend was a vegetarian. The next one's a vegan. And, you know, everyone takes the piss out of you and laughs at you, but blah, blah, blah. But now at least there's the options of the prepackaged foods. It is a lot easier to eat healthy. You know, before it was difficult and expensive. So I think people will start to do it. look at the whole fucking fitness model world, like guys and girls. Guys are buff to fuck.
Yeah.
And fit. So there's some more role models. Like gyms are full. I don't know about the rest of the world, but here in Australia, gyms are full of fucking buff motherfuckers covered in tattoos.
But tattooers?
Tattooers
never go there.
No.
Tattooers are still like just... Yeah, they're just like just bragging about
Yeah.
those guys going to the gym.
Look at this loser.
Yeah, look at this fucking pussy. And there's like buff,
He's in
healthy
love with
guy.
himself.
Yeah, and I'm like, this buff, healthy guy. Now it's my idol. Before I was
Yeah.
ignorant too. And I would say like, what this guy's working out for,
Yeah.
you know, for what?
Yeah.
Just to look good? Stupid, you know?
Yeah.
No, looking good is just like secondary. First thing is like, they're gonna live longer than me.
Fuck yeah.
They're gonna live better.
Yep.
Yeah, their
Yep.
sex life will be better. Everything will be better.
My dad
You know what I mean?
My dad is 78 and he just said to me the other day, he goes, he's always been relatively fit. He's like a scuba diver, bushwalker,
Okay.
still riding push
Sick.
bikes, all this
That's
sort of
so
stuff,
nice,
right? Son, I've just started taking Viagra.
Epic.
And I'm like, how old are you again? He goes, 78. I'm like, yes.
Dude, this is it. Like, you know,
Yeah.
little like that they know, like how many friends we have who are like
25.
Pumping it.
They didn't do shit with
Yeah.
themselves, you know?
A good mate of mine is fucking younger than me and he can't get a hard on.
Yeah.
He's got to take pills. It's because of his bad lifestyle.
Yeah.
Fucking overweight and the bad weekend party
What that
choices.
changed it to you?
How the hell
like,
are you going to be Romeo?
You're feeling 20 again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With every aspect of the life. Of course, sex is part of it, but it's like every aspect you feel better. You sleep less. I'm sleeping shitty these days. I will have 3-4 hours sleep. I'm still feeling regenerated. I feel good. Because every like other day I'm at the gym, I'm working out, I go for a jog, I eat healthy. All those things benefits you, you know? Years ago, like being jet lag all the time and tired and working our asses off, you're exhausted. You're like you're sleeping 6-7 hours, you're still not rested well, you know? It's so
Almost
different.
like autopilot. And you know what? It's
I think we should start a health podcast, bro. That would be like
For
tattoo
sure.
health podcast.
Well,
like,
the guy-
I would love to hear that. Like,
the
and it's
guy
a
that
good
does the
time.
massage here, I want to get him in and do like a small one.
Please start
of,
some
like,
awareness. I
How,
will be
how to
happy
sit,
help
how to
because-
stretch, how to do all this stuff, how to... Like even here, what blows my mind, we've got like from our generation, people started on the school chair, tattooing like this. The armrest was your knee with the big grip, blah, blah,
100%,
blah. Like, you know, foot switch, all this stuff. Where now everyone's laying down on a table, you've got a nice chair, you've got an armrest,
Exactly,
but people are still like a crane.
Yeah,
like this.
100%. Yeah.
I take so many photos of the artist and put it in the group chat going, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it is a good thing. There's definitely a call for it. Like people, like one thing that blows my mind, the government should do is give you like a tax deduction if you have a gym membership.
That would be amazing.
You know, because it's going to stop long-term
Yeah.
money they're going to have to spend on
Exactly.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, all this sort of
This
stuff.
is a smart move. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. And there is a big need of encouragement because I'm looking at all my friends around the world now, tattooers. They're all like average condition or below average, you know?
Yeah.
And they're beautiful people. Like, it's sad to see because I was there once and it's like, you know, even if it doesn't hurt, it doesn't mean it's okay for you. You know, you should prevent it when you can. You know?
Have you ever met Trevor McStay from Melbourne? Really good Japanese
Never met
tattooer.
him. I know his tattoos forever. Yeah.
One
obviously.
day you should go meet him if you're in Melbourne. Like he's one of my idols, done so much tattooing on me, and thankfully, like a mentor, took an interest in me as a young kid and guided me on the tattooing and life as well. But he's one of the guys from his generation. He'd be early 60s now. Not a big drinker. Brought up an amazing family, amazing wife Debbie. They're just so good for tattooing in general.
Yeah.
But he's always stayed fit.
Yeah.
His son now plays like high level, like professional football.
Yeah.
And that's he's one of my heroes for multiple reasons.
Just became my hero from
But
that
he-
short
yeah,
story.
but he's still tattooing
So rare in
5
tattooing.
days a week. He's still hungry. He still loves everything. And that's, apart from everything, a big key factor in it is health.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. Yeah.
because otherwise we're all going to have the hunchback. So I think it's a good thing that hopefully younger people will take up. And because man, there's no fucking superannuation, there's no holiday pay, there's no sick pay, there's no
nothing,
guarantee.
Yeah.
What's going to happen if you're a busted tattooer at 40 years of age?
Yeah.
No tattoo shop owner is going to look after you because you've worked for him for 10 years.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, you've done this to yourself. So
100%,
hopefully
yeah.
with some awareness, like other people like you, like I love about you said before, you're an inspiration.
Yeah.
There's another guy I've just met who I want to get to come into the shop and do like a 30-minute coaching thing,
Yeah.
just to fire people up. Like yoga is good. I used to do yoga years ago and get paid out on, but fuck, man.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I want to be in a yoga class surrounded by hot chicks and
It's
then go
amazing.
for a
I
swim
love
at
yoga,
Bondi?
dude. I love yoga.
Go to Bondi Beach
Yeah.
for a swim rather than, back
bro,
then in a gym with old fucking angry crooks and
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, our industry have so many. Like, we should be the most open people in the world. We're the most judgmental fucking idiots. We're ignorant as fuck, Honestly, thinking that I'm tattooer 5 years ago, you would tell me about yoga class, I would be like, pussy. Like, how fucking ignorant we are. Like, how fucking weird, misconception of what's good, what's not for us, tattooers have on average, Like, it's weird, it's scary, it's frightening.
It is, and if you're...
And we want to be masculine, and we want to be tough, but then we don't fucking go to the gym, work out, lift heavy shit, and put it back. Like, why? Put it down,
Back to a lot of it, like you touched on before, a lot of it is the insecurities.
Yoga, like, beautiful things, stretches, all that, like,
Mate, just stretching 5 minutes a day is going to fucking put a few years on your career, even if you still do everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Like being in Bali now, I imagine... that there's a lot of obviously fit people around there, and
I'm the worst person in my gym, and that's the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
Like, finally, I'm hungry for something else.
Yep.
Finally, I'm driven. I'm motivated. I'm like far behind everyone, and I feel great. Like, I feel so inspired. I work with like really professionals. There's like so many great athletes over there. Best gym in Bali. That's for sure. One of the really best ones. I think at this time. At this moment in the world when it comes to CrossFit and all that. So it's like, it's insane. But those people are so attentive, so like amazingly fit, and like they really can guide anyone through from like bottom to like really.
I imagine it's a good community where people want to share and help. And
very open, Once again, it's like, if you're a tattooer, you go first time ever in your life to the gym or somewhere else, don't be frightened. Like, these people are welcoming, they are not they're not assholes like we are usually, they're not that judgmental. They won't judge you if you're shitty. I sucked first year and a half at the gym, Finally, I'm getting to the point now where I can train myself and I'm like getting better, but it took me like year and a half of super hard work, like showing up 4 or 5 times a week, not like, once a week. So takes a while, but it's amazingly rewarding, and it's not as frightening of community as everybody thinks, Like, those people are really open, and they just started looking after themselves earlier than all of us.
So how have you gone to integrating this into traveling again? Obviously, things have slowed down a little bit for you, but you're obviously on the road. You're training. You're eating well. You're doing the best you can in the situations.
So the new concept, which I carry since pandemic, is just I tattoo less. And I think just because I tattoo less, I tattoo a little bit better. And I don't want to sound arrogant by any means. It's more like I spend less time tattooing, but when I tattoo, I have way more focus than I had when I was doing 12, 14-hour days. I tattoo 4 hours a day. Perfect. Like, I can dedicate all my energy, and I still have time for morning, good breakfast, gym time. I tattoo for 4 hours, and then I will like have still afternoon to do another like long walk or whatever. I can ride bicycle. I can do some activity, meet friends or whatever, work on painting. But I've actually bought myself a lot of time, So it was not hard shift. It's like, I think it's temporarily because I'm gonna miss tattooing at the scale, but I can do it like few days a month, like tattoo a couple of appointments a day and make it extremely crazy days because I love those. But then again, the rest of the week I will like take it easy, and I think this way gonna be much more sustainable for me for now, for what I want.
Like I think my goal is to get to 50 years tattooing, which is about 66 years of age.
Okay.
But that might be 2 days a week. And even if I don't get there, that's okay. Like, the hard thing is, like, we see old timers that we know. The work starts to go like that. To me, that's somewhat scary. So I want to be in a position and just go, you know what? When I'm at 80% of where I am now, it's time to stop.
Yeah.
And time to still be involved in the studio if I'm still loving it and all this stuff, but maybe move into other things, pick up the travel bug again, or adventure, or painting. There's so many still other... What the pandemic taught me was, if this is retirement, I'm going to be okay. I'll be able to deal with this. You know, so it was a good perspective.
Yeah, and you look better after pandemic too.
Yeah. Same thing. Good perspective as well. And like, you then reprioritize. Like now I spend my time between the Gold Coast and Sydney. So I work 4 days a week. I fly back to the Gold Coast Sunday night on the last flight, and then I fly down to Sydney on the first flight Thursday morning. Yeah, you get it. Yeah. It's easy. Yeah. It's 7 hours of travel a week, 3.5 hours door to door. Other people are like, fuck, man, you're so crazy. I'm like, but the reward is the best. Sydney, 24 hours, seems like I've got 16. Yeah. Gold Coast, 24 hours turns into 36.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Everyone's chilled, the nature, you just enjoy life.
100%, yeah. So that makes sense.
It's a good one. Quickly, let's go to numbers. 100 flights. Tell me about the 100 Panthers, or 1,000 Panthers, or 10,000 Panthers.
Oh my God, it's ridiculous at this point. So the whole concept of like doing 100 Panthers was born in 2011. I was in Singapore at that time. I did 1 or 2 drawings of a panther heads. I always liked them. Always liked the wildcats. You know, from me, that was the first and most appealing thing I ever saw from like traditional tattooing, crawling panther. Yeah. And I always wanted to tattoo one. I've never drew one until 2011. I've drew a couple, and I started tattooing them on friends. Yeah. I did like 3 or 4, and a couple of customers started showing up for appointments where I supposed to tattoo different stuff on them, but they just saw the panther I tattooed the other day, and they kept asking for it. So I was like, okay, might as well do 100 of those. That would be fun. And that year, the hashtag 100 Panthers come to life, and I think I did obviously first 100 within that year. So the dream was like, once again, mark off from the list, but it never stopped since then. And a year or 2 later, probably 2013, early 2013, I was in San Francisco, went to visit that Hardy shop for the first time, and little that I would know that the man himself was there, sitting in the shop, like I'm showing up in the shop, 9 in the morning, first time ever there, Lombard Street, beautiful shop, everybody should visit. And at Hardy's son's walking me into the shop, I'm like showing up, and there is this big computer screen at Hardy himself sitting in front of computer screen, big open photos of my back pieces, and I'm like, shit. Whoa. And he's watching my Panthers, and I'm like, what's going on there? Like, like probably 2 or 3 times in my time, I was like, wow. I was feeling that small, my balls shrinked. I was like, it's like facing the God, and he's watching my work, like it doesn't make sense, like what's going on there, you know? So apparently his son, amazing person, told him about my work. So the man himself fatigued himself to the shop, like obviously he's not around in the shop anymore, he works on his painting somewhere else. So he came to the shop just to meet me, greet me, and like watch my works online, whatever was there. There was a couple of back pieces already with Panthers, and he would like, we would start talking about Panthers, and I got this like amazing feeling, when you're facing one of your idols, like meeting Horiyasu-san for the first time, like one of those moments you never forget. It's like, it's so beautiful. It's like meeting, I don't know if you're into rock music, Manson, like having tea with Manson or whatever. It's an amazing moment. And I'm like sitting there talking with him about Panthers, and he's basically like, hey Dave, so you're doing the same thing which I do. You travel and tattoo these Panthers, and just please keep doing this around the world. I got blessed by God to do so. Here I am, 2023, making Panthers globally because I've been encouraged by that amazing person to do so. And honestly, I felt so blessed. Because I'm probably, probably the only person who is gonna be like, in like, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. It's good, and like, keep the Panthers legacy open. I'm like, did I hear that? Is it like real? I got blessed? Okay, I will. I will deliver. I promise you that. You got it, So one of those like highlight moments of my whole tattoo career, I would say that day, that morning, San Francisco, I was just like, wow. Yeah, and Ed would like spend the next 2-3 days around the shop. He would show me his artwork space, paintings, and we talk about painters for hours. And yeah, I would never dream of having that time with him. You know, that person obviously is like retired a long time ago. He's not around his shop, so that the fact that he dedicated his time to spend there with me, show me around, it was
Still got the love.
insane. You know,
and
I got one of his paintings, obviously, or like two even. Yeah, it was just unbelievable time. But like, you know, talking with a person who one of the first ones come up with this design, make this design spread into what we know today.
The big back piece, the cover back piece.
Oh
man,
insane! Yeah. Like whole history behind the painters is insane when they trace it from like child book, you know, like one of these Jungle Book or whatever stories. They trace it and they put it on human skin. And then Ed noticed this in 70s and he was like, this is a cool motif, I want to connect it. And what Ed did, it was genius because like he's the most unbelievable person ever. He connected East and West as a first person. So he put Japanese clouds behind that painter. And I didn't saw these motifs until like I visited his shop and his workplace really. But at that time I was like, wow, this is the coolest thing ever, you know? So in micro scale, what I'm thinking of my career is I'm like following this kind of path. I'm trying to be, as a person, be a little bridge between East and West. As me being graffiti kid from Eastern Europe, I bring that part of like culture into my artwork, but I mix it with what I love, which is Asia, and my heart forever is there. And it's like, if I can influence that graffiti artwork with my Asian understanding of their art and put them together, this is like the best art form, and I'm blessed to do that forever. So I know my path for the next 50 years. This will be just
amazing,
mastering that as much as I can, you know.
You're definitely doing it, man, and it's phenomenal to see. And like,
but I gotta give credit forever. Like Ed started it, and not many people did that. Like there is tattooers, great American tattooers, so many of them who sometimes combine these two styles. But they don't live it. Ed lived that. Ed spent months at the time in Asia, you know. He worked with the best, with like Pinky Yoon, with like the legends who are not around anymore, you know, like those Hong Kong guys and like, you know. So I think it's important part is not just to borrow from this culture, it's to go there, witness, like smell, how is the air there, you know, talk to people, like show up a couple of times, you know, not just one time. Not be a gaijin who's like, hi, bye. Just like,
I've been there.
Yeah, come back to those people, like cherish the relationship, you know? And Ed obviously did that, and I'm gonna keep doing that for a long time.
Yeah, it's definitely like when, you know, in my little backpacker crew, we used to have like our hierarchy, and it was like, you know, other people doing the 2-week tour around Europe on the bus, they're tourists. But we're travelers. You know, we're in a camper van traveling around for 3 months, blah, blah, blah. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. Who knows where it's going to go for you, man, but it's always going to be good. You're just going to keep powering and keep inspiring, and it's going to be awesome to see.
I hope, brother. Wow, I'm so honored to do this conversation.
Man, it's the best.
And it feels so natural. Like, we're going to do it sometime soon. Like,
well, you're going to come back for the convention. And what I was going to say as well is I believe Chad's going to come for it too.
Oh, nice. Imagine 3 of us sitting. Like, I was supposed to meet Chad last year, I think still during the pandemic when he wanted to visit Poland. And I was there and he couldn't come for some reasons. So he changed like a day before. Then I supposed to meet him like a few years ago in Asia. He couldn't come. Like, there is always something. Like, let's do it. Like, 3 of us sitting in one room doing this thing again.
It's going to be good.
And we're going to go travel only. Like, travel only. Like,
well, there is a whisper, maybe
I want to pick his brain too. And we both can, like, you know.
Oh, man. Like, Chad's come obviously everywhere, but, you know, Australia's been a big part of his time as well. So, man, there's so much skin here he's covered.
Times, days, he was here, like, all the time.
Mate, legendary. Like, you know, he has had such a big influence on Sydney tattooing and younger Sydney. Like W.T. Norbert, another Polish guy.
I know this guy. He's great.
Yeah, so he was like all-rounder, could do anything and everything from portraits to whatever. He was doing like a lot of neo-trad, but he got tattooed from Chad. And then that changed him. He went, I want to do big. And now where he's going is crazy.
It's legendary, you know? When I met him in Hunter Fox, 2014 maybe. And I've hung out with him for a couple of days. When he told me the stories where he's coming from, he's like pre-Polish tattoo scene. He's like OG as fuck, bro. He's like, He's been around
the generation
for a long time.
before you.
Incredible tattooer.
Yep.
Such a humble, nice guy. Yeah. Way before me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's nice to hear. I didn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
it's
obviously,
awesome.
Chad's visit would influence anyone. He's just a great person to be around and like incredible tattooer. You know. So yeah. Extreme work ethics. Like can tattoo for 15 minutes sleeves and like
Oh mate,
tattoo
insane.
15 tattoos a day. Like
It's crazy.
incredible machine. Yeah, I'm wondering how it's these days. So let's find out in August.
Exactly.
Cool.
Shall we go get something to eat?
Once again,
Call it a day on part 2 later.